Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can convert an Express API to using AWS Lambda using the new Function URLs feature. Okay, so what I have on my screen is a simple course viewer application that I built using React.js. And all it essentially does is it calls a REST API that I've built using Node.js, which I'll show in a minute. And it allows me to do things like search for a title, of course, right? So if I type in CSS, you're going to see it's showing two titles with the word CSS in it, okay? If I empty it out, then by my API, it's just going to return all results. Now I've also got some paging down here where I can actually, go through a list of pages. So we've got some paging involved in this API, and that's pretty much it, okay? Now, in terms of the node code, it's just a very simple Express API with one endpoint, which is the courses endpoint, and it takes in some optional parameters. One is a potential query. So if I come over here and I go Q equals, and let's say CSS like we did in the UI, whoops, let's do that again. Q equals CSS. Then you'll see I'm getting the results for that query, all right? Now, if I decide I don't want to just look up that query, I just want to get, say, the maybe 10 results instead of the default, which we had there, which is 6, I can say page size is equal to 10, and now it gives me 10 results, okay? And then lastly, if I want to only look up 2 records, not 10, like so, you get 2 records. And then what if I say I want the next page of records for this particular search? I can just go, I'm going to go to page 2, and then it gives me the second page of results, okay? So that's how this API works. And the code over here is very simple. We've got our queries here that we're getting optionally. Then we're calling this filter courses function, which ultimately is filtering through a list of in-memory courses. So where is the, here's the filter here, all right? And the courses is simply what you're seeing on screen. It's just an array with objects that have that shape, okay? So I'm not going to go into too much detail on what's going on in here. It's really not that important for this video. But what we are going to do is we're going to convert this little Node Express handler here to a Lambda function that is available via the Lambda URL new functionality. So let's get to it. So I'm in the AWS console and I'm going to create my Lambda function. I'm going to author it from scratch. And I'm just going to call it my course list API. And I'm going to leave the runtime on Node because that's what I've been using. We're going to leave the permissions as the default because we're not going to be talking to any other services. I'm going to come into advanced. I'm then going to check this new feature, enable function URL. For now, I'm just going to leave the auth type to be none because I want to access it from the outside world without having to authenticate myself. And we'll leave the cause unchecked for a moment until we get to the client. I'm going to click create function. And there we go, it's been created. Now, as you can see down the right-hand side here, we have a new function URL to which we can access our API. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to close an existing one. And you can see that it's just a simple API that returns a hello from Lambda, right? So it's just handled very basically. So that's cool. What we want to do now is we want to grab our REST API that we have defined over here, and we want to port that into our Lambda function up here, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to port the bit that I don't have to change, which is the courses bit. So I'll just copy the code. As you can see, I've already pre-selected it. I'm going to come over and I'm going to add the new file. I'm going to paste that code in and save and just call it courses.js like I did on my local machine. Cool. And then we're going to grab the node code that we have for our main application, like so. And I'm going to first close that and paste this underneath the handler, right? Now we'll get rid of the bits we don't need. So the bits we don't need are basically all the express stuff. So everything to here is gone. So we'll put this at the very top of the file now because it's an import, so to speak. We're now going to get rid of the app.useCore, and we're going to get rid of the app.listen at the bottom, okay? Now for the rest of this code, I'm going to just copy all these consts because that's pretty much all the things we kind of need before we send the response. And I have to reshape them. And then we're going to get rid of this final bit here, which is more express code to actually send the response, because we're going to be sending it using this approach here, right? So we can get rid of that comment as well. So here are the things we need to get. We need to get a query variable. We need to get a page number variable and a page size query variable, right, from the query. Now, how we do this in the Lambda world is we access the event object, and on the event object, there is a object called query string parameters, right? Now, I'm adding the optional question mark there at the end because sometimes that doesn't exist. Hopefully for our application, it should exist most of the time. But again, you can also, when you do tests, you may forget to include it, and it just prevents things from breaking, and that's totally fine. I like to do this. You don't have to do this if you don't want, but I am. So now what I can do is just pass this for the others, like so. And you'll have to forgive the long line that we have here, like so. And then I'm just going to fix a few more things. Like, for example, with Lambda, you can't have queries that have uppercase letters in them. It doesn't work. You need to make these all lowercase. So I'm just going to fix those up now. And same for the page size variable here. That's going to come down to lowercase. And then basically there's also another complaint here by the Lambda IDE, which is good. It's talking about I didn't provide the radix parameter for the parseInt part, which is good. So now it's telling me to pass that so I can make sure that this is getting passed to a decimal number. And so therefore it'll be whatever I pass in as numeric now. And ultimately, I don't have to do much else here, all right? So I've got the filter function. I'm calling the filter courses. I've got the same 3 parameters in the formats the way that I like it. And now I just need to return the response. So the response is this result. So I just go body equals JSON.stringify, and I just pass in the result, just like that. I'll save this, and now we'll deploy, and we'll just give this a quick little test. So I come over here. If I just refresh without adding any query string parameters, well, we've got our courses, right? We've got the there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, there's 6 courses by default, and that's because we set the flag to 6 for the page size if we don't specify anything. And then we've got page number being 1 by default, which again was in our Lambda. If we didn't specify a page number, it would be 1 by default. And we don't have any query, so it just tries to fetch everything, okay, but up to the page length, right? Now, if we come in and we do our little queries, so we go to CSS, we can see once again, we only get the 2 records. If we say, let's not worry about querying, and we just go page size is equal to 10, then now we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 records. Cool. So that's working. And if I bring it back down to 2, then we can see we've got 2 records, but let's say I want it to be on a different page. So let's say page 3. Then you can see that the titles have changed. Now it says learn Python. So everything seems to be working as expected, right? So that's great. We've got an API that is now ready to go and to be tested in the UI. So let's go about doing that. So I've just opened up the client application, and I do have a simple config that points to an API. As you can see, it's pointing to just the Node application I had running locally on port 9000. Well, now I'm just going to point this to my Lambda. So I can grab the function URL here, copy that, come over, and then just paste this in like so, and save. And then I'll just start my application. So it's running now. And then ultimately I'll try to run my app, and you'll see a problem here, right? You'll see that it's currently just spinning away and not doing anything. If I open up the console and go here, you can see that I've run into that cause problem. All right, so we haven't configured cause yet, so we need to do that now. So coming over to Lambda, I'm now going to scroll down until I see this configuration tab. I click on that. I can see that we're on the function URL new section here on the side. And now I'm going to click edit. Okay. So now this is where you can edit the settings for the function URL that we saw when we were creating the function. I'm going to now enable cause in this situation, and we're going to change the value for allowed origin. Now, right now it says star, which means it allows everyone that in the world to basically call your API from the client. We don't want that. So I'm going to set mine to just be localhost at port 4200. That's what my React app is running on at the moment. And that's all I'm going to do for now. All these other settings that are here, you can look at them at your own time. I'm just showing you the most quickest way of doing things. So now we can click save. And if I come back over to my client and I give this a bit of a refresh, you can see now it reflects, and now we can see that our API is being called by our front-end client. So now I can come in and try some tests. So we go CSS and go search, and everything seems to be working the way that we expect it to. I can click on paging, and yeah, everything is working well. So that is how you can build a simple little Lambda API based on an old Express app to build the backend to support a little mini application like this. Now, just keep in mind that if you enable cause and it still didn't work immediately, it can take some time to propagate. I tried this a few times, and this time it was instant, but on other occasions, it's been up to a minute before I've seen cause be enabled. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. That's it. That's how you can simply build a Lambda backend using Lambda URL. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell. And I'll see you all next time.